right, everybody, we're live with episode 36 of Just the Gi Top podcast. So our guest today doesn't need much of an introduction. We have Joe Lauzon on. So Joe, first of all, thank you very much for coming on today.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So for those who may not know, Joe is a lightweight fighter in the UFC, professional record 23-9. It's at 18 wins by submission, 12 post-fight bonuses. So Joe's a really exciting grappler, so we're really honored to have him on today. So just regular podcast members, as usual, we have myself, Adam Cousins, we have Ahmed Tirani.
Yep.
And we have Jordan Short.
Hello.
So Joe, maybe if we could just start by talking about how you got into Jiu-Jitsu and go from there.
Okay, so when I was before I knew what Jujutsu was, before I knew what the UFC was, anything like that, I was big. Me and my buddies were all big into professional wrestling, and basically, I had a trampoline, and we would murder each other on the trampoline, like power bombs, choke slams, all this other stuff. And it kind of progressed from, us taking turns like with power bombs and stuff to us actually trying to fight for it. And I had a cousin that he'd done like some shoot fighting and things like that, and he taught me how to do like a guillotine and like a rear naked choke or something. And I was like the king of the trampoline. It's like I was submitting all the neighborhood kids. Like I was submitting. I was like probably 15, 16 years old. And then my high school. I'm from Massachusetts, so our high school had MCAS testing, which is it's kind of like SAT kind of testing. It's all standardized, but it's all essay format. And our school did terrible at it. So the second year around, our school did great at it. So we got like all these rewards. So one of the rewards we got for making such a big improvement, we got an assembly. And Joe Pomfret, who's like my trainer now, he came to like a karate and jiu-jitsu demonstration at our high school. So they've got like our entire grade was all down in our entire high school actually was all down in like the gym. And they were doing karate stuff, like kicking each other in the legs and stuff like that. But then they started doing jiu-jitsu and like shot a double leg and took a guy down. He's like knee on belly and going for submissions and chokes and arm locks and me and all my friends were like starstruck. We're like, this is what we've been trying to do. Like this is what we've been doing on the trampoline. Like if we learn this stuff, we can be the best. And so we all started doing jiu-jitsu.
the best the trampoline league that you have going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Highly competitive league.
So did you like go sign up for classes right away after that, or
so I think I had just turned 16, so for me I didn't have my license yet, so I didn't want to depend on my buddies for rides, so they went and signed up like right away. I lagged behind them by like 2 months, so I was just a little bit behind them, but they all signed up, and then I signed up, but then I caught up on them right away because I was kind of I remember like before I started actually training, like they would just jump guard on me. And I'm like, I don't know how to deal with the guard. I don't know how to open the guard. Like I'm trying to open their legs, and I'm just reaching through and getting triangled. And like, after like 4 or 5 times of this, I'm like, all right, I have to learn this stuff.
That's awesome. Did you start at a gi school? No gi school? Like I mean, this is back. When is this? 2004?
No, this is like 2000. I graduated 2002. This is like 2000, 2001.
Okay, yeah. So was it in the gi?
No, all Noogie. So my trainer is Joe Pomfret, and he's still like so we renamed the school. So I basically bought in on the school. So my gym now is called Lauzon MMA. Take advantage of my name, but I'm like a 50-50 partner with Joe Pomfret, and he's still my trainer. Still, I was sparring and kickboxing with him yesterday. So he started out with karate, and then when he started learning jiu-jitsu, he would just he wanted to get extra reps in. So he would go up to Boston Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is like 45 minutes or an hour from us. He would train with them, and then he would come back, and he would basically teach all the stuff he was learning. So he started teaching me as like a blue belt. He was just doing it to get extra reps. Okay, this is what we've been working on the last week at Boston Brazilian, so that's what we're going to work on. And so I just, they did a tiny little bit with the gi, but pretty much all no-gi. We just did all no-gi variations.
At what point did you actually get into the gi?
Honestly, I'm just starting to get into it like more now. I trained in the gi for a while when I was out in Hawaii with BJ. I went out there, and Hilo is awesome. It's awesome training at BJ's gym. But it's very centered around what BJ has going on for fight camp. When BJ's in the gym, everyone's in the gym. When BJ's not in the gym, a lot of people aren't in the gym. So when I went there the first time, everyone was in the gym. So I didn't, I was so focused on MMA and no-gi grappling, tons of guys, everything like that. But then I went out there a second time, and BJ just fought. So, like, the MMA stuff wasn't as hot as it had been the first time. And basically, to get extra rolling in, I just started jumping in the gi class. You know, so, like, I bought my first gi, was out in Hawaii. You know, and I just started training. So I trained, like, probably the most gi training I've done has been, like, I've trained pretty solid for, like, 8-10 weeks, like, you know, pretty much every day. You know, but, you know, I'm just now starting to get into the gi more. Like, it's fun, but it's not exactly like what I'm getting ready for. You know, it doesn't do me any good to get good at all these different collar chokes and all these different things when I'm not gonna be able to do it, you know, come fight time. You know, I'm always thinking overhooks and butterfly guard and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of people, they say, you know, training in the gi is gonna help your no gi performance as well. You don't feel that?
I think there's some very, very small, like, specific things that helps a ton. Like, I think it's great for posture. I think it definitely helps your passing and things like that, because if someone can grab onto your sleeve or, you know, your pants or something like that, and you know, they can stop you from passing, but you can still pass, that definitely helps, obviously. But I think that when there are guys that are like, they try to be like the gi wizards and the gi ninjas, where they're like, you know, they're tying you up every which way and using the sleeve so much, those are the guys I think don't carry over as much, because as you take off that gi, all of their stuff doesn't work. It's all out the window. But it's definitely good for, like, posture and that kind of stuff. You gotta kind of, I feel like if you focus on the people using the gi more against you and you not using the gi, then it's great for MMA. But if you're all about using the gi, it's not going to work out for you.
So it just kind of adds like an extra challenge almost.
Absolutely. It's kind of like a handicap. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really glad that you touched on that, because I see these quotes all the time. People saying, "Oh, if you want to get better, no gi, you got to be in the gi," and etc. But especially for MMA, that's just simply not the case.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I do think that, like, there's like I think, like, okay, so like a super basic transition is you talk like arm lock, triangle, omoplata, right? If you take to it well, you can probably figure out the mechanics of it pretty good, and you can do it no gi. But if you're a little bit slow, or maybe just, you know, it doesn't come so naturally to you, the gi definitely helps, you know, to help you get that different pressure and different points and points of control and things like that. For me, it always came pretty naturally to me, so I felt like I didn't really need the gi. You know, I kind of feel like almost like the gi is almost like training wheels a little bit, where it's a little bit easier to get tougher concepts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's good. Like, it definitely, you know, I think it definitely helps. Like, it helped. Like, I know, like, training the gi for me, like, it made my omoplata game a lot better, because I sucked at omoplatas for a long time, and then training the gi and doing them so much, it helped me a little bit, and it made all my no gi omoplatas a lot better. So it definitely helps, but I feel like you can't get too dependent on, you know, grabbing onto material and hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, some guys, they do play a very heavy grip game, and I can't imagine that helps as much with
that.
Yeah,
you know, like, or sometimes you get guys that, you know, maybe they're not very good, but they have like an iron grip. So it's like, oh, you know, we had a good, you know, it was kind of a stalemate, and like, yeah, but let's take off the gi, and I'm gonna murder you because you held me in place. And yeah, I mean, kudos to you, you did that, but it's not really the same.
It's even different too, like, between no gi training and like jujitsu for MMA. I would think, like, there's got to be a lot of differences with posture and things like that. I mean, because you have to worry about getting punched in the face or kicked in the face, right?
Yeah, you know, I'm a huge fan of, like, butterfly guard. Like, I think, like, I'm amazed that anyone uses anything but butterfly guard for MMA, because I'm like the biggest hater of close guard you'll, like, I probably ever have on this podcast. Like, I hate the
I do too.
And part of it's, you know, like, I'm always thinking MMA. So what am I gonna do with close guard in MMA? Like, I can not get hit, so I can be defensive, but for me to do anything, my guard has to open. You know, I have to, you know, whether I switch to, you know, try to transition to something else or go for a submission or a sweep or whatever. Your ankles, you know, pretty much everything. You know, you go like a Kimura or Kimura guillotine, but that's pretty much all you can do without opening your guard from closed guard. So it's like, why even get good at that? Why not just get really good at, like, more of the open guard kind of stuff? You know, like the butterfly and things like that. Like, I'm always amazed when people are like, oh, closed guard. It's like, no, closed guard is terrible. Closed guard gets you punched in the face. Gets you punched in the face slower, but it gets you punched in the face.
You know, it's funny. A couple months ago, and this thing didn't last long, but at our club, there was this small little trend where people would bring their MMA gloves and they would do quote-unquote jits with hits. I'm sure you probably do that, right? And what's that?
Yeah. So when I first started training, we used to do that. We just put on MMA gloves and we would grapple with just body punches. It was kind of like almost like a pancration style. And me and all my buddies, like, we are the biggest, like, assholes when it comes to training. Like, we are like me and my buddy Chris Palmquist is one of the first kids. He actually owns mixedmartialarts.com.
Oh, awesome.
But so me and Chris, like, when we roll each other, we're like, you would think we hated each other. Like, we're constantly like slapping each other in the ears and elbowing each other in the thighs, and like even with just like Noogie grappling, we're just being, just constantly like, I'm a big believer, and of, if you're making someone uncomfortable, you're winning. So like every time we grapple, we're doing everything just to be jerks.
So yeah, that's crazy, man. Because like I was saying, we did that and it didn't last long because it's horrible. My jiu-jitsu is horrible for striking. It's horrible because you're right. Like, we did the closed guard and I was just getting punched in the mouth and stuff. I'm like, well, what am I doing? So I stopped doing it altogether.
But it's a completely different sport. Like my jiu-jitsu is terrible for lacrosse. You know what I mean? Like, it's completely different. It doesn't matter. Like, if you're training for Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like in the gi, training in the gi,
Yeah.
you don't care about being exposed to getting ground and pounded.
Yeah.
And I don't. So I train. I'm always thinking MMA. So I don't really care. Like, you put a gi on me, I roll pretty well, but I don't roll in it enough. So I have like, for like the first couple times I roll in it, when I haven't rolled in it for a while, I have like, I'm gonna do terrible at, not letting people grab my collar, and they're constantly working gi chokes, and they're way more effective. But I don't care about that. Like, you don't care about my ground and pound, but I don't care about your sleeve chokes either when you're doing the opposite. So it's all just kind of give and take. But it's fun. It's good to switch it up.
That's a good point. Did you ever, like, going forward, maybe after fighting and stuff, do you plan to get more serious into the gi just for the sake of maybe progressing? Like, you're a brown belt, correct?
Yeah, I'm a brown belt and a Ricky Lundell. Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
definitely train in the gi more, and I would love to compete. Like, I would love to, I wanted to focus a lot on a lot of gi like the last couple of months, just because I knew I had a baby a couple months ago. So
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
yeah. So I wanted to I want to put a little more time, and just everything's been a lot more hectic with all that. So I hadn't been able to put in as much time, but I wanted to go, and I wanted to do a couple tournaments and put on a gi and things like that. And hasn't quite worked out the way that, but I've been getting a little bit more time in. But it's like it's definitely something I'll do more later. Like, when I'm done fighting, you'll never catch me in a boxing ring like doing rounds or stuff like that. Like, I'll always help guys get ready for fights, but I'll never be like, oh, I feel like doing MMA rounds today. I'm gonna go get punched in the face. Like, that'll never be me. But I'll always do jiu-jitsu. I'll always grapple. We call it marathon grappling at my gym. We do it Tuesdays and Thursdays, and definitely like the most packed time we have in my gym. It's just basically open mat, but do like 6-minute rounds, and you can do 10, 12, however many rounds you want to do, and people just basically stay until people go home. It's definitely like my favorite night of the gym, and I'll always do that, long after I'm done fighting. But if I never get punched in the face after I'm done, it won't be too soon.
Going to some competitions and stuff, what kind of grappling tournaments did you do? You did a couple, because there's some footage out there of you doing some flying submissions and all that kind of stuff. Have you ever done anything like no-gi pans, or do you have any interest in doing that?
Yeah, it's definitely something I would like to do. Like, for me, like, at this point now, like, while I'm still fighting, like, it doesn't make any sense for me, because if, like, maybe I go and I do like no-gi pans and I do fine and I don't get hurt and everything's good. But maybe I step wrong and I break my ankle and now I can't fight for a long time, or maybe I get caught in something. You know what I mean? Like, or and there's definitely like a big target on my back going into like that. Sure. People always like, oh, I got Lauzon. It's like, okay, you got me, but like, or if I try to be safe and like if I get caught in something, I just tap super early and things like that to make sure I don't get hurt. It doesn't screw me for a fight or something like that. I'm gonna be hearing about it. Like, I used to do tons of tournaments. I've won like all kinds of like absolute divisions, like local ones, and I've won all kinds of Naga tournaments and things like that. And we used to go down to New Jersey and do tons of stuff like that. And I lost the guy, kind of a semi-local guy, up near me. And it was like, I've been training like 3 months, and I still hear about that match all the time. Oh, you remember when so and so beat you? I'm like, dude, I was like 3 months training. Like, the guy was like a black belt at the time. Like, I was jumping up, and I hear about how he took me down and then stalled his ass off in north-south and refused to move and just hung onto my pants for the entire match, and I still hear about it. So it's like, it's kind of like, I would like to do it, but I would also not like to hear people throwing stuff in my face all the time, just because I try to play it safe or be just play it safe, I guess.
Well, just tell them that you're gonna like ground and pound him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it just bugs me. You know what I mean? Like I'm just super competitive. I just don't like hearing that. And obviously, like I'm gonna lose matches and it's gonna happen. But like,
Yeah.
it's like I don't. If I legitimately lose a match because like I give it everything I have and I lose it, I'll never care about that. But it's like if I go and lose a match because like I got in a weird position and I don't want to get hurt or something like that, or like I've done really really well with bonuses in the UFC and things like that. So. If you're talking about making $100,000 on a night in a fight versus doing a tournament for a stupid medal or sword or something, it's like you can't even compare the two.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a huge liability, right?
Yeah, it's just not smart. You know what I mean? Like injuries happen enough in the gym when there's nothing online. There's it's not a big deal. So it's I don't know. I would like to do it, but I have to do it if I'm gonna do it. I gotta do it when I'm far out from a fight where I can't be so worried about it. What I really need to do is I need to have a fight. Come out of the fight flawless and then get into some kind of big tournament right after that. That would be perfect.
Yeah. Speaking of just the competing thing, the reason I mentioned that, Joe, is I'm not like saying, hey, you better go do no gay pants or whatever. I just asked because Benson Henderson, of course, as you know, has been competing in the IBJJF circuit in between fights, I guess. And and you make a good point because whoever beat him now probably thinks they have a feather in their cap. Like, yeah, I sub Benson, I'm the man, But I mean, you make a good point there. But however, I'm sure, I don't know, at the brown belt, black belt level, I mean, I would expect that behavior from white belts and blue belts, purple belt even. But maybe brown belt, they'll be a little more mature about it. I don't know. What were your thoughts on that? But
I mean, maybe it could be more mature, but. I don't know. I mean, I think like just about every community is always going to have guys where guys brag or guys talk about this or guys talk about that. Like my whole thing is if I'm going to compete, I want to compete. I don't want to compete with training wheels and try to just stay super safe. Like, and honestly, like what would probably happen is I wouldn't tap early. I probably would not err on the side of caution. I would probably try to gut it out or make it work or whatever, and I would probably end up getting hurt. So. It's whatever. And honestly, I'm not delusional either. Like I understand that like that's not my thing. If I go and put on a gi, or I try to compete with these guys, that's all they do. I'm automatically starting way behind the ball because that's not what I focus on. These guys are focusing on gi all the time. For years and years and years, they're doing nothing but gi and they're working on the gi. And like I'll get crushed by sport grapplers. Like there's a difference between like I think there's guys that have good jiu-jitsu and then I think there's guys that are good sport grapplers. I think they're completely different in a lot of cases. Guys that are going up for all kinds of crazy stuff is not going to be the same as like a guy that's a good MMA grappler. And I'm a good MMA grappler. I am not a good sport grappler, and I will get crushed by those guys. So it would not. I don't think it would go well for me. I guess is what I'm saying.
No, that's awesome. Awesome.
Do you train like you got your brown belt from Ricky Lundell like just about a year ago, right?
Yep.
Do you train much under Ricky or?
So I've trained a bunch with Ricky. Not as much recently, but I bring Ricky up for fight camps every time I go to Vegas, which is kind of a lot. I end up training with Ricky. So and Ricky's definitely like one of the best I've ever trained with. Might be the best maybe.
Yeah, people, if anybody doesn't know Rick Montella is, like, look him up, look up some of his matches. He's got a sick one against Glover not too long ago. He also trains Frank Mir, I believe, right?
Yep, trains Mir. Yeah. He worked with Misha Tate, Travis Brown. He works with a whole bunch of guys, bunch of badasses.
He's just a beast, and he's not that big a guy either. He's just
little. He's so little. So
yeah.
I got trained with Ricky because I was out in Vegas for every year the UFC does what they call a fighter summit. Which basically they bring out almost the entire roster. It ends up probably being like 250, 300 fighters. And they bring us all out and they basically talk to us about, putting money away for taxes and how to deal with like paperwork with insurance and all that kind of stuff and training smart and doing this and doing that and all this other stuff. And so I was at the Fighter Summit and Jimmy Gifford is really good friends with my boxing coach. Gifford is Frank Mir's boxing coach, a couple other guys. And he's telling me, you got to come out, you got to meet Lundell, you got to meet Lundell. He's like, bring your mouthpiece, bring your gloves. You got to come out and do, you got to do some training with Lundell. I'm like, okay, So then he's like, he's Mir's grappling coach, and I'm like, okay. So like, he picks me up at the hotel, and I'm like, I left my gloves, I left my mouthpiece. Like, I'm like, there's no way I'm sparring and doing rounds with the guy that's Mir's grappling coach. Like, he's like a monster. And he down the car. He's like, you got your stuff? I'm like, yeah, I get all my stuff. He's like, you got your mouthpiece? I'm like, nope. You got your gloves? I'm like, nope. I left them up there. Like, I'm not gonna get crushed by Frank's guy. And he's like, dude. He's like, he's littler than you. He's like 150 pounds. And I'm like, bullshit. Like, there's no way that Frank's grappling and wrestling coach is 150 pounds. And then I meet Ricky and got absolutely trashed by him. I'm a believer.
Well, what are some of the things, like, if you can just take us through a training session with him? Like, what is somebody of his caliber? Like, I know, like, I know him really well, so I just know he's just a killer. But like, well, what does he put you through? What is he? Is it drills? Is it just sparring? Does he just critique what you're doing, or?
So it's a lot of, so he'll teach technique. It's a lot of, and it's a lot of drilling. It's a lot of reps. So I hit. So Ricky kind of has a wrestler's approach to jiu-jitsu technique, I guess is the best way to think about it. So wrestlers, they, pretty much, like, high-level wrestlers are a lot better, but you have like a high school, college, wrestler, they're usually good at like one or two things because they drill those things to death every single day. Like every practice is them working on their single leg or their double leg or this counter they do and things like that, and they drill things to death. So Ricky was just super lucky when he was like, I don't know, like 13 or 14 when the Gracies came over here in the beginning. He might have been younger, actually. He was younger. He was a lot younger, like maybe like 8 or 10 or something. But Pedro Sauer just happened to open a gym in Salt Lake City in Utah, close to where he lived, and his dad brought him in. So Ricky was training like really, really young with Pedro Sauer. It's like black belt at like 18 or something with Pedro Sauer. Ended up running Pedro's gym for a while. Then he went on to wrestle at Iowa State, and really good friends with Cale Sanderson and all this other stuff, and wrestled with Cale's brothers and all this other stuff. So Ricky is like had a black belt in jiu-jitsu before he learned how to like work hard as like a wrestler, and then he learned how to work as a wrestler, and then he's kind of brought it all together. So he'll show me a couple things, and we'll drill the hell out of it. We'll just rep, like do it forever. If you saw my fight with Jamie Varner, we worked the crackdown sweep like. I must have done that thing like 1,000 times in like the month and a half before we led up to it. It was like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. This is all Ricky. Ricky's like, this is what's gonna happen. Jamie's got a great double leg. On the feet will be okay, but when he blasts his double leg, this is how we're gonna counter him, and he's gonna play right into it. And like we had a couple options off of it, and then sure enough, in the fight happens, he double legs me. I reach over, I sweep him, and the finish was kind of that was more me than Ricky, but the sweep was 100% Ricky. I had never seen that. I'd never done that. And then I hit it in the UFC after like a month and a half. It's just like we repped the hell out of it. So Ricky kind of changed how I just trained myself. Like I'm way more about repping things out. I'm way more about just putting in lots and lots of reps on like one or two things or like one or two like very, very small systems, and just getting kind of funneling people into those systems is a lot better, because I used to kind of like way back I used to just kind of I had like 8 different options, and I would just kind of I would get a few reps in on each of them. Now it's like, okay, I have 2 options, and I drilled them to death.
It's interesting really cool. That, because there's so many. I find like a big thing in sport jiu-jitsu too is kind of the whole. There's like 2 approaches, I guess, where some people are like drilling something like 1,000,000 times or like however many times it takes until it's kind of just ingrained in their head. But there's also been this other thing, like, do you kind of just do it with very little effort, or is it more of a thing where you're working on it, but you're having them like resist against you, or they know that you're going after it, or how exactly do you work it out?
Everything's done with resistance, but the level of resistance always varies. So when you're first learning something, let's say I'm learning a brand new move today, like I'm doing something I've never done before. I'm going to have like very little resistance, because what good is it for me to keep failing at this move, okay? I'm learning something the first time. You're really good at stopping it. Like, I'm not going to hit it, right? So I'm going to have like very resistance. So we'll start, like, maybe give me like 10%. So I think of 10% as, okay, we've all had the trainer partner where they're being like a dead fish, okay? It's like they're doing it, and you go for the sweep, and like you just like the wind blows in that way, and like they get thrown on their back, and that's no good for anyone, right? We've all had that partner where it's not good, because you want to make sure you're doing it right. You don't want to just go through the motions and have them like magically throw themselves on their back. So, but you start off at like 10%, 10-20%, which is that's like, okay, I'm going to keep a little bit of base. I'm not going to fight you, but I'm gonna not fall over for you. I'm not going to just tap the second you lock something up. And then it slowly start just ramping up their resistance a little bit, and like every single rep should be you finish the rep, but you struggle a tiny little bit. In the beginning, like, it'll be easier, but once you've done it, maybe 20, 30 times, now you start you want to struggle on every single rep, and you want to get it every single time, but you still want to struggle. And what's going to happen is you're going to, well, for me at least, I struggle at different stages. So in the beginning, maybe I'm struggling at the something on the beginning. Now I'm getting the beginning go, but now I'm struggling at the end a little bit more. And but I should be going through the entire motion the entire way every single time, and it should always be with a little bit of struggle. And that's just like for the drilling aspect of it, just like working on it. And then when I'm like trying to hit it live, it's kind of the same thing, except that I want whoever I go against give me 100%, but I'm not going to try my best. So I train with Joe Proctor, Jimmy Quinlan, my brother. I have a bunch of guys in my gym that are like really, really good grapplers. So if something I just learned recently, I'm not going to hit on them. It's not going to work. I'm just gonna it's gonna be demoralizing. I'm gonna have way less confidence in things. It's just not going to work for me. So instead, I have my guys that are not very good that I'm going to go with first. So like, okay, I'm gonna go for like the white belts. I'm going to run this on, and even if I was doing everything wrong, it would probably still work against them. But I still do everything properly so that I make sure I'm just positive reinforcement, positive, good reps every single time. Then I do it on my blue belts. Then I do my purple belts. And I just slowly work the way up. And before you know it, you've done thousands of reps on this move, and now I'm hitting it live and doing stuff like that.
You brought up a really good point. The whole thing about you don't want to be down. Like if you tried against, say, your brother, and he knows it's coming, and he's going to shut it down, and it kind of brings you down. And so you said you go to your white belts, your blue belts, your purple belts, etc. What kind of I guess before a fight, let's say you have a fight scheduled 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out. I guess that's usually the notice you're given. When do you kind of stay away from the drilling that you just explained and now get into, okay, this is the real deal. I'm done learning things. I'm just simply going to go live, rolling all the time. Like, so how far out from a fight do you cut that off, what you just said, and then said, okay, we're going live here. This is the stuff that's going to benefit me for the fight.
Well, I'll be drilling it, like week of the fight. Like we'll still be getting good reps. Like it's like when we go out on fight week. So I used to do nothing fight week. I would just be like, I was in like 100% like recovery mode. Like I would grapple a tiny little bit. I would maybe hit mitts a tiny little bit, but like very, very brief, just kind of like barely doing anything. Just to kind of basically I would use it just so I would stretch out. I would stretch out every day and then hit mitts for like a couple of minutes, and that would be it. Now it's like I get a little bit more. I don't do a ton, but I definitely break more of a sweat for that stuff. But it's pretty much the same thing. Like all the stuff we're working on, we're still drilling, we're still repping. Like I'm not gonna, if there's something that we're drilling to get ready for a fight, we're gonna drill it on a schedule that I'm gonna be ready to hit it come fight night. Like I'm not gonna learn something 2 weeks out. Like some things that maybe is something I could incorporate in my game 2 weeks out, and I can hit it on fight night. But there's gonna be a lot of things that I'm not. So if we're 2 weeks out and I'm trying to incorporate something new, that's when we get rid of that altogether. Maybe it's 6 weeks out. We're like, oh, you know what? I'm not gonna change the way I've been shooting. I've been shooting a double leg a certain way for 10 years. I'm not going to change that 6 weeks out. You know what I mean? For after the fight, we'll work on changing that. But I'm not going to, it's not going to be effective to try and switch us, that close to the fight. So, but if there's something we expect to hit on fight night, I'm going to drill that and rep that all the way.
Do you ever have these cases, because you said, like, you never want to have, like, a new move and try it out and start doing it the week, like fight week, for example. Do you ever have it where you see a move that you wanted to learn or something, and the next thing you know, you're actually trying it in the fight live?
I do that all the time.
It definitely
never works.
Yeah, for me it works sometimes. Like there's been times there's been things that I've done in fights that I have never done in the gym. I've seen it like on a video on YouTube or something. I'm like, oh, I guess that worked. So there's definitely been times when I've done stuff and I've just like completely pulled things out of my butt, and I've pulled it off and it's great and everything like that. But more often than that, though, is like it's something that I used to do like years ago. Like I go back to that triangle I hit on Jamie Varner. Like that was like a way that I used to try and jump to people's back all the time, and then they would stop me, and then I would triangle them. And I was doing that this is back like 10 years ago. I was doing that all the time, but I hadn't done it in probably 7 years, 8 years, and then we're in the right position. I just jumped for it and I just went for it, and part of that goes back to like I was saying, like having confidence, like. Jiu-Jitsu works because you have confidence in it. Like someone that is confident will perform 100 times better than someone that's not confident, and that's usually why some guys are like on fight day. Like some people or day of competition, whatever it is. Some people really rise to the occasion. Some people just crumble, and the people that rise are the guys that are confident. Sometimes they're blindly confident. You could have a guy that sucks, but he competes well because he doesn't know that he sucks.
I wish I had that. Man, I gotta.
So you're probably the opposite. So you know enough where you doubt yourself. You probably give yourself like, you focus on all the negative stuff, you know. for me, it was like early on, like I knew that like it's like my guard passing sucked in the beginning, but I was really good at footlocking people. So I never even tried to pass the guard. As soon as I was dealing with the guard, I would footlock them or or I would do that. And then because when I got good at footlocks, people started to realize I was good at footlocks. So then the guard passing came a little bit easier. But I didn't realize, like I didn't really understand how badly I sucked at passing guard. If I did, I probably wouldn't have been as confident in my ability. I was like, I don't care. I'm just gonna wrap the foot up and I'll pass the guard off the scramble. But I was confident, so it worked.
You've always has your grappling always kind of been submission focused? Like you've kind of always been looking for the sub? Like it definitely shows in your MMA record.
No, he's a point fighter. What are you talking
about?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, like. So my thing is like, my probably my primary training partner for like the first like probably 5 or 6 years I trained was my buddy Jay, and Jay and I would roll, and I would submit Jay every single time we rolled, but he would control me for 95% of the match. So he would never ever submit me. He was all control, I was all submission. Kind of like the Ryu and Ken, and Street Fighter. But he would control the hell out of me, but I would always submit him, and we it didn't matter how long we rolled. You know what I mean? Like when it finished, I submitted him, and and he controlled me. And he was always like position, position, position. I was always submission, submission, submission. And I preach more the position first now, like way more to like all my guys. And I try to be like that a little bit more. But for me, like because I spent so much time going for so many submissions and ending up in really, really bad positions for most other people, they're really not bad for me. Like my last fight, I fought Mac Danzig, and I went for the arm lock and mount. From Mount, and I popped his arm really, really good, and he got on top, and Joe Rogan's like, oh, see, that's a mistake. Joe just gave up top position, and like it really wasn't. I popped his arm, I damaged his arm was junk the rest of the fight. Which that's just as good as landing a big punch to me. And I was on bottom, but I didn't get hit at all. It's a position that because I go for arm locks and all the time, I'm comfortable being on my back. Like I'm comfortable in my sweep game. I'm comfortable with all that stuff. Like I'm not in a bad spot. Maybe someone else that is super conservative. You put George St. Pierre on his back. You put John Jones on his back. You put these other guys that like they're so good at staying on top and dominating and things like that. You put them in a bad position, it's going to go very, very badly for them. But but for me, it's like I end up in bad positions all the time. Like I have how many reps I have from failed arm locks or failed guillotines or this or that. It's like I have millions of them. So it doesn't really. I don't think it's as a negative an aspect for me as it would be for someone else.
Well,
I totally agree with that, though. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people that play like a really heavy top game, and then as soon as they get swept, it's like it's game over. Like, a guy with a well-rounded game is going to win every time, I think.
Yep. And I think that like you got to kind of. For me, I know like so I started off so like I talk about how much I hate closed guard, right? But I started as a guy that had a really good closed guard. So like I have like, and even though I don't like using it, like I have a really, really good closed guard. So I got good at really good with all my closed guard stuff. Then I got good at my half guard stuff. Then I got good at like all my top stuff, like my side control, all these other things. And then I realized I kind of did everything backwards. I should have focused on sweeps earlier because you get on sweeps, you're on bottom. You sweep, you get back on top. You're kind of free to work on whatever else you want to work on because if your sweeps suck and you're only good on top, you're not going to be very quick about going for things where you might end up on bottom. But if you're good at sweeps, then you're golden no matter what happens. Because when you're on top, you're great. When you're on bottom, you sweep and you're great. But I kind of went through like a certain routine of like getting good at all these different kind of things, and then my guard passing got good, and then I was able to hold people down. I'm like, all right, now I have to get good at sweeps because now that once I got good at my sweeps, now I got good, now my guard passing kind of came into play, and that kind of helped out everything else.
Well, I think it speaks to the confidence thing too, right? Like, just being confident in those positions, you have less hesitation to go for the sub because you know that you're going to end up. Whatever position you end up in, that you'll have something to do from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've I'm a brown belt, but I've submitted all kinds of black belts in fights and things like that. And I think that it definitely helps the fact that maybe if I had a straight up grappling match in a gi, maybe those guys would take my lunch money, and destroy me. But when I'm punching them in the face and I'm making them think about other things, it changes things, and it definitely helps my confidence, because now it's okay. I'm smitten guys that are black belts. So now when I grapple against guys that are black belts, like it's no big deal at all. It's like, all right, I'm completely fine. It's all kind of like it all comes around. You know what I mean?
Speaking of other black belts in MMA, just let's say MMA, well, whatever organization you want to say. Who, in your opinion, are some of the best, guys with the best jiu-jitsu in MMA, UFC, well, whatever, Bellator, any organization? Who are some guys you look up to in their style, maybe?
Guys that I really like watching, like I love watching Damian Maia. He's just awesome because he comes from if you saw Damian Maia warming up in the background, and I love him, I don't want to talk shit, but he has the most atrocious hitting mitts and things like that, but he wins because his jiu-jitsu is so good, and that's so much more impressive to me. You get a guy that's got good wrestling or good stand-up, I'm less impressed. I'm gonna make a lot of haters right now. I'm less impressed by a guy like Jake Shields or someone like that because they have such great takedowns. It's easy for them to let their jiu-jitsu do work, and they can be aggressive and they're good athletes and things like that. I'm definitely a Jake Shields fan. I'm impressed, but I'm way more impressed by a guy like Damian Maia who has no takedowns really, has has no stand-up, and he just goes out there and he fights and he wins. But guys like Damian Maia is awesome. Jim Miller is one of the best.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I love watching Cole Miller. Cole Miller is the perfect example of someone that's so super confident in jiu-jitsu. Cole Miller is confident he will beat anyone with jiu-jitsu. It doesn't matter who it is. He's just, my jiu-jitsu is going to be better. He's so confident. And Cole's got great jiu-jitsu, but he's just he's the epitome of just someone that's just confident in what they do. And he works hard, and he works really, really hard at it, but he's super confident. So those are kind of the guys I like to watch.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of guys that always want to be in their back. So I think when a lot of people think of jiu-jitsu, they're thinking of guard, close guard, spider guard, butterfly guard, all that kind of stuff. I like seeing guys get on top and they can, pass well. George St. Pierre's got great jiu-jitsu. He has awesome passing, things like that. And that's kind of the kind of stuff I like to get better at is, control someone, beat the crap out of them, pass their guard, really wear them down. And then, it doesn't, I think in grappling, when you can't punch someone, you have to wear them down with, head control and shoulder pressure and all this other stuff. In MMA, we punch and we wear people down with punches, and then so it's a little bit different setup, but it's the same concept. You win by making people uncomfortable. You win by making them tired. You win by taking their heart. You win by making them mentally break and give up, and then by that point, the submission is just a technicality. By that point.
It's funny you mentioned Cole Miller because I remember very specifically, and I'm sure you remember this, when he faced
Andy Ogle.
George Gurgel.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, Gurgel was a black belt back then. Cole Miller was a purple. Caught him in a triangle in the dying seconds of the match, I believe. And he said at the end, "Not bad for a purple belt." He's looking at the camera talking you know what I mean? And I guess that's a good example. He probably wore him down, made him think of other things. Next thing you know, bam, he's caught in a triangle.
Yep. One of my favorite Cole Miller things is he fought Andy Ogle, and Andy Ogle is I love Andy, but he's not doesn't have really the best jiu-jitsu pedigree. And Cole swept him by just putting his feet up, just kept his guard closed, just raised his hips, held his hands, and just dragged him up and swept him to mount. It was the coolest thing, you know what I mean? And that's just that's not someone that's thinking about getting ready for a fight is not working on that sweep. That is a gi sweep through and through. But Cole hit it in a fight. He adapted. It was awesome.
Excellent. One other thing you often hashtag, team aggression.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds self-explanatory, but is it a lingo for guys in your camp? Is it? I mean, you always the second the bell hits, you're running out on all cylinders. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So team aggression is that's our fight team. So
okay.
So the name of my gym now is Lauzon MMA. So and that sounds like it'd be a fight team. Back in the very beginning when I first started training, it was reality self-defense, and it started off it was like I said, it was a karate, and they did karate and jiu-jitsu, and then Joe Pomfret, who's my trainer, he was an awesome. He was kicking people in the head. He was an awesome fighter, but it was more so about it started off kind of as a pure thing, as this other stuff is not going to be the best for self-defense, but jiu-jitsu is great for self-defense. So that was kind of where the self-defense part came, and then. He came from he had a karate, boxed a little bit. He came with striking background a little bit, but a couple times we came out to fights reality self-defense, this guy's gonna get killed, So we changed it up. So as a fight team, we started to come out as team aggression, and I was before the gym was even mine, I was kind of one of the leaders. I was one of those guys that were kind of pushing it, and I was kind of clearing the path that everyone else was following, and we came up with what do we want to do? You know what I mean? We don't want to. There's a million different, good good like words you could use to describe like how you want to fight. But for me, aggression was the best thing. Like, come forward. We're gonna come forward. We're gonna be aggressive, and we're gonna overwhelm people. And so we came with Team Aggression. We came with this awesome logo that my buddy Justin made up, and it's awesome. Now like you search Team Aggression on Google Images, and like there's tons of like gaming communities and clans, and they steal our logo and they use Team Aggression, and it's kind of funny to me. But that's kind of what the Team Aggression is. But yeah, like when I come out and I fight, I try to be aggressive. One of my coaches, Steve Bakari, always talks about how back in the day, pirates would like basically like light the hair on fire as they boarded ships and just scare the crap out of people. It's like, I'm fighting like I lit my hair on fire, and I have to win to get to extinguish it. And it's pretty much how it is. Like when I watch tape or fight tape or whatever, or grappling or like way back in the day grappling, I would remember like what was going through my mind, like while it's going on, and I would think I'm holding side control for like so long, and I'm there for so long, and I'm controlling, and everything's good, and then and then I think, oh, I gotta move. They're gonna call me for stalling. I gotta move, and then I go on to something else, and then I watch tape, and it's like I'm there for like half a second, 3/4 of a second, like it's like I'm there and I'm moving, and I'm there and I'm moving, and for me it's just like everything's just so much slower when I'm actually competing. Like I'm paying attention to every little detail. I try to keep it aggressive.
And just switching it up a bit, I actually saw on your Facebook feed like a little while ago, it might have even been a couple days ago, maybe longer, but it's actually about because I remember you and John Jones kind of went back back and forth a little bit with the whole grappling match that you guys were supposed to do. Is that ever going to happen, or is that still in the works, or what exactly? Could you give us a backstory on that as well?
Well, I would love for that to happen. So what happened is, John Jones is doing a Twitter Q&A, like basically just, send me questions and I'll answer, or something on that line. And someone said to him, you should, if you're gonna call someone out, who would you call out? And so he's like, oh, I'll call it Lauzon. I'll beat him in a grapple match, with my hands tied. And I'm like, all right, I accept your, So he's just kidding, you know what I mean? I know John Jones because, he's from upstate New York. He trained at a gym called the Bomb Squad near Ithaca, and so he had a lot of his early fights here in Massachusetts. So he was on same cards where I had guys fighting. Or I think, I don't know if we fought on the same cards. I don't think we fought on the same cards early on, but he had a lot of his early fights around here. So like I knew all of his coaches and blah blah blah. So when I see him at fights, I always say hi or whatever, and so always just friendly back and forth. It's fine. And then, so he called me out. It's just kind of just like a friendly call out, and it's all fine, you know what I mean? Like, but of course I have to give him shit back. I can't just take it. So I'm like, all right, I accept your match. And like he was talking about, I'm sure he was talking like in a Noogie grappling match. And I'm like, all right, I accept your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu match in the gi, just because knowing that if he's gonna have his hands tied, I'm gonna take that advantage, or I'm gonna be able to grab on his collars and sleeves and everything else. So, and he's just so big and strong. Like it's going to be pretty tough for me to arm lock or Kimura or something like that, but I could definitely catch some kind of collar choke. And so we kind of just like going back and forth, and then I started hashtagging just do it to him and all this other stuff. So like I would have a lot of fun, but honestly it's like the worst thing he could do, because I think that even straight up grappling, if we grapple, like if there was like a time limit, it might be tough. But if we just grapple until one to submit each other, he is not going to submit me, but I will submit him. Like I'm too squirmy. I think I've way too much grappling experience where he's got great wrestling, but his jiu-jitsu I'm sure is not to the same level as everything else. Kickboxing, he would take my lunch money and destroy me. It wouldn't even be close. It would be like fighting like a kindergarten kid. But grappling, going to submission, I definitely think I would beat him. His hands tied is like, that's a no-brainer. And in the gi, it's even worse. So, like I would love for it to happen, but just because I think it would be fun to do. But for him, it'd be terrible. It'd be terrible for sponsors. It'd be terrible for the UFC. It'd be terrible. They have he's like one of their marquee champions, and Nike's is like a huge sponsor of his, and he's like one of their big athletes. And to go and have them lose to a guy that he's got 40 pounds on, 50 pounds on is not good for his image. It's not good. So I don't think it will happen. But it was kind of fun just to kind of play around with the idea.
Yeah. So there's no like plans, or nobody's actually trying to get that going, I guess.
I don't think so. Probably not. Honestly, it would be tough because it would have to coincide with like a good time for me, a good time for him, whatever else I had going on outside the cage, whatever he had going on. Like it would be a pretty rare case where it would all work out. And honestly, it wouldn't. like we could do it and have fun with it, and it wouldn't be a big deal, and like I wouldn't care, and he wouldn't care. If he submits me, I wouldn't be upset. But if I submit him, he probably wouldn't be upset himself, but he's gonna catch so much shit from people like, oh, you lost to so and so. Like, hate on Twitter and stuff like that is already ridiculous enough.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Never mind people that don't know what's going on and things like that. So I don't know. I don't think it'll happen. I wouldn't hold my breath for it.
Well, you guys remember on Tough when he got submitted by one of the contestants? You guys remember that? Got guillotined?
Yeah, and I'm sure you put all kinds of shit about that. You know what I mean? Forever. It's like it's dumb, and it's like it's training. It's like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like I tell my guys all the time in the gym. You know, I got a kid that's gonna be really good. This kid Randy Costa. And he just had his first amateur fight, and you know, and his jiu-jitsu is not the best, but he's working on it. Every day he's in there, he's working on it, he's getting better. He's got good wrestling, really good stand-up, but his jiu-jitsu is definitely like the lacking part of his game. And I'm like, dude, no one cares if on fight night you smash someone, no one's gonna care when you smash someone that you got submitted by guillotines or this or that 8,000 times in the gym. They don't care. It only matters about like what's going on. But now like all the social media stuff and behind the scenes and stuff like that, like it sucks because people see something in the gym, they don't realize that John Jones probably gets tapped out all the time in the gym, but because they don't see it, they think it doesn't happen. So then when they do see it happen, like, oh my God, it's such a big deal. I can't believe this happened. It's kind of stupid.
So going to the grappling matches and stuff, everyone here knows about you and Nick the Tooth, the 3-minute grappling match in an octagon, and you made like $6K. Was it $6K?
Yes.
$6,000? Yeah. So for those who don't know, so I guess the rule was every time he submitted Nick the Tooth, he'd get $1,000, and in a 3-minute time, and he got 6 submissions on him. And Dana White was there, and it was funny. Like, you can catch it on YouTube. Just Google it. And anyway, were you not worried about him catching you at all? Like, is he like, you know what I mean? Like, this was this was recorded, right? Like,
so you saw like what the camera saw. Okay, this is my perspective. The whole thing. Like,
excellent.
We're out in Seattle because Joe Proctor is one of my guys. He's fighting, and so he's fighting on the card, so I'm out there. So I was out with him the entire week. I'm 100% about Proctor. I'm helping him like train each day and just like kind of roll nice and slow and not a big deal. So this is like right before I fought Jim Miller, and honestly, I sprained my knee like a week before, right? So this kind of all worked out good because my knee was a little sore. I didn't want to I was rolling with Proctor, but Proctor's like he's like a good safe training partner. I was being careful with my knee, but like this was kind of good because I had that whole week where I wasn't training super hard. But I was still getting some light work in, and I was getting ready. So I go to bed, I wake up, and my boxing coach Steve Mays, he ends up hanging out with Dana a lot of times at the fights, and they're buddies. And Nick the Tooth was out there, and Nick the Tooth is getting a little drunk, drinking a little too much, and he sees that Steve Mays, my boxing coach, is wearing a Lauzon shirt. And like, oh, so Nick's is just mindlessly like talking shit. So Mays starts kind of giving him crap back and forth, whatever, and somehow they come to terms that okay, I'm gonna grapple with Nick the Tooth the next day. So when I wake up, I have no idea what's going on. Mays is like, oh, you want to make some money today? I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he tells me that I'm gonna have a grappling match with Nick the Tooth, who I met, but I didn't know anything about him. I knew zero about Nick. I knew like he's built like a gorilla. He's really strong. But that was all I knew about him. And okay, you're gonna have a grab match, and for each submission you get, you're gonna get $1,000. And I'm like, ugh, I kind of like, I'm thinking about my knee the entire time. I'm like, I'm supposed to fight like 3 weeks later. I'm like, I really don't want to hurt my knee now and then not be able to fight. But if I'm gonna get hurt doing something, it should be something for Dana. You know what I mean? He can't get mad. So like, oh, it's gonna be in the octagon. It's before the fight. They got some new. Right before they were using the Phantom Cam all the time, which is like that super slow motion camera. And like honestly, like they want to use it because they want to test out the Phantom Cam before the show tonight. I'm like, all right, like, well, I gotta do what the boss wants. So but once I tied up with him, I knew he was dead. Like I had, I could just tell. Like I'm not a Hulk, but I'm kind of small, but I'm pretty freaking strong for my size. And Nick is pretty strong, but I was still much stronger than him. So he was saying after the fact, like, oh, I was amazed at how strong he was and this and that, but like pretty much everyone that's fighting the UFC is going to be strong like that. Like I'm not super strong for the UFC. I'm stronger than your average grappler, your average guy. So it was kind of, but like I said, once I tied up with him the first time, I knew I had his number. I was hitting everything. I hit a flying leg lock. I think I hit a flying arm lock. I hit a couple arm locks a mount. I hit a 10-finger guillotine. Like pretty much anything you want. I wish I had a little more time because I probably could have. I wanted to get to 10. I wanted to get to 10 in 5 minutes, and then they changed it to 3 minutes, so I only got to 6. I was right on track for it though.
That was awesome because at the end of that, so Nick the Tooth was bleeding, and then Dana's like, "Are you bleeding? Are you kidding me? Like how? Why are you bleeding from a jiu-jitsu match?" You know? Just flaming the guy. And then I don't know, like some of it maybe is camera work or whatever, but then they show him in the back throwing up and.
Oh, I'm sure that was real. So like Nick is like, so that's what he does. He gets a little drunk, and then he just acts like an asshole. So they were all about getting payback. So he was absolutely puking, and like it was a good time. I felt really bad because I made $6,000 to grapple with Nick, which I didn't train for it at all. I just kind of showed up, and it just kind of was dropped on me. So it worked out well. And then Proctor made $8,000, and he did like a full fight camp because he fought. He was on the tough contract. So tough contract usually 8-8 for the first year. So he fought really hard. He lost his fight. You know, so I ended up like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna pay for my flight out here. I'm gonna pay for all that stuff because he would normally pay for that stuff. So I ended up paying for all that stuff. So it was good because I got to save Proctor a little bit of money. I think I tossed Proctor like $1,000 out of it too because I felt bad.
Oh, bad.
It was a good time. I wish I could do that every weekend. Like I will follow the UFC around doing grappling matches with Nick the Tooth every weekend.
$6,000 a weekend? Yeah, why not?
Nick the Tooth grappling match.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
So, Joe, what's up next for you? What do you got planned right now?
So nothing yet. So dealing with all the baby stuff. So kind of like went from being like professional athlete to holding a crying baby and feeding him at 3 in the morning and not getting my sleep and all this other stuff to So I got to get back on routine. But I told the UFC I want to fight like probably like late August, like early September. I'll be ready to go because that'll give me time. Like things are just now getting back to normal for me, trainer wise. Like I'll be I'm in the gym every day, but I'm not in the gym as long as I would like to be. Like I'm in, I get in for like maybe like 2 hours in the morning, and then maybe I don't get in that afternoon or whatever. Whereas normally I like to be in there a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours at night. So hopefully I'll get back on that routine, and then over like the next week and a half I'll kind of ease my way back in because if I try to do it all at once I'll just get sick and I'll overrun myself and everything like that. But next couple weeks I'll get back in normal, and like I said, August, September I think would be perfect for me.
Is there anybody that in particular that you're looking to fight, and just anybody?
Not really. I mean, I'll fight whoever. Like I don't wanna go to Japan again. I get tons of people saying that I should fight Gomi. Like I was amazed. I had tons of people on Twitter and things like that. And that's a fight that like I would like, but I'm not going to Japan. I know they're definitely gonna fight in Japan. Like we had some bad experience in Japan last time. So I don't want to go back out there. I want to fight local, especially now, having a baby and things like that. It's tough for me to get away for so long. But it's I'll fight whoever they want. Like I know that it's kind of past the point of getting any kind of easy fights. I'm gonna fight killers every single time. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, especially coming off a win, right? Like you probably want a step up now.
Yes, absolutely. And so I just beat Mac Danzig in December. So I'm sure I'll fight someone else coming off a win. So if I want to fight like August, September, I'll probably fight someone that wins like in the last couple weeks or the next couple weeks. Is probably about the way it'll go. So to kind of pay attention to all the lightweights and figure out someone, and I usually don't like picking opponents. Usually the UFC will come to me with like one name or sometimes 2 names or something like that, and we'll go whoever. Like I honestly feel like it doesn't matter who I fight, that I can come up with a game plan. Like I'm pretty big about game planning and figuring out things and breaking down tape and coming up with a sound strategy. To beat people. I feel like I can beat anyone on any given night. It's just training camp has to go well, injuries have to go well, the night has to go well.
Awesome. And can you just give some of our viewers an explanation as to why you look like you got a pillow behind you and stuff?
So we were supposed to do this a little bit earlier, so it was going to work out perfectly. But then we moved it a couple hours. So to do that, which was fine, but I had to go to my fiance's mom's house because we're having dinner here in a little bit. So I'm up on her bed. It's nice, nice area. Not the best lighting for a podcast, but I got my microphone, and we're good to go.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's it.
Awesome. Well, Joe, do you have anything, any closing comments you'd like to make or anything like that? Any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I mean, Gamma Labs has been a huge sponsor for me for a long time. They're coming out with some new pre-training formula, which is awesome stuff. I had Torque for my last last fight. So check them out. And then just honestly, just follow me on Twitter. Check me out on Facebook. Twitter.com/JoeLauzon, Facebook.com/JoeLauzon. And I'm always putting on stuff. We do awesome video blogs every fight. So
yeah, very entertaining.
We're all big fans, and it was a real honor to have you on. So
we
always look forward to watching your fights.
Yeah, and the reason we moved it was for Jordan. Jordan had to come to work, and we asked you, like, I know we agreed on a certain time, and we're like, man, Jordan really wants to do it, so we appreciate you changing your time for us. And another question is, why are you not sponsored by Xbox? I mean, we have.
Dude, I keep pressing for that. I don't know. I play Xbox all the time, like a little bit less now that I get the baby, but I play Xbox all the time. I've contacted them. I've tried to make it happen. I think Jorgensen might play maybe more Xbox than me, but I don't think there's anyone else on the roster that plays as much Xbox as I do. And I don't know. They're not interested. I don't understand why. I can't figure it out. I think that they're very specific about which events they do. So they're not trying to just do things on an all-the-time basis. They do Demetrius Johnson for all his fights.
Yep.
But I think that usually like they do it around like very specific launches. So I think the dates are pretty important about what they do. So I think it just hasn't worked out for me. But we try to get them every single fight, and we just never get nothing good back.
Hopefully it happens, man. That to me would be king right there.
For me, that would be king too. I did an appearance for them back probably like a year and a half ago now. But I did an appearance for them. Like, oh, we're gonna give you X number of dollars in money. We'll give you double that in product. And I did the product. So I had like Xboxes coming out my ears, like control. I got like these are back on the 360. I think I have like two Xbox 360s like still in my closet, like in the boxes still. I got like a bunch of extra controllers. I just got all kinds of stuff. So I would love to work something out with them.
All right. Okay.
Well, that's awesome. So, Joe, again, thank you so much for coming on today and talking with us. We really appreciated it.
Oh, no problem. I had a good time.
Thank you very much. Amazing.
Sweet.
Rami, you want to thank our sponsor?
We'll also quickly thank our sponsor, Pohada Gear. They sell shirts, beanies, and hoodies now. Again, we're gonna have some giveaways on the Facebook page, so stay tuned for that. You can check them out at pohadagear.com, PORRABAGEAR.com.
And for anybody who didn't notice Rami sneak in partway through the podcast, you have to excuse him. I think he just woke up from a nap. So.
Yeah.
Not very professional, Rami.
All right. So with that, on that note, that's a wrap for episode 36 of Just the Gi Top podcast. Thank you very much, Joe, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next week.